Meeting will begin in 1 minute.
Good evening and welcome to the Carnegie Town Hall. This meeting of the City Planning Commission will begin with a few introductory remarks. The City of Sioux Falls Planning Commission serves as an advisory board to the City Council. It is the responsibility of the Planning Commission to consider and make recommendations on land use and zoning matters. Actions taken tonight on conditional use permits are final unless appealed to the City Council in writing within 5 days, and any actions taken tonight on initial development plans, alternative plans, or minor amendments are final. Any recommendations made on preliminary subdivision plan requests tonight will be referred to the City Council for final action at the third council meeting of this month, or at the first council meeting of the next month if associated with a rezoning or major amendment. Any recommendations made on rezoning requests, major amendments, future land use amendments, or ordinance amendments tonight will be referred to the City Council for final action at the first council meeting of next month. Council meetings are held the first 3 Tuesdays at 7 p.m. here in the Carnegie Town Hall and are televised. The Planning Commission will first approve the consent agenda and then the regular agenda. In order to place certain non-controversial items on the Commission's consent agenda, planning staff and the Planning Commission apply the following criteria. First, the request conforms with the Shape Sioux Falls 2040 Comprehensive Plan. Second, planning staff recommends approval of the request. Third, there are no audience members present or written comments received in opposition to the request. And fourth, the application meets all conditions and requirements of the Sioux Falls zoning ordinance. By approving the consent agenda, the Commission is approving the items on consent. Therefore, upon approval of the agenda, those members of the public in attendance for those items are free to leave. For the regular agenda, the following normal public hearing procedure will be followed for each item. By first requesting planning staff to present a brief report on that item. Second, the petitioner or a representative will be requested to come forward to make a statement or answer questions. After the petitioner has spoken, anyone from the audience who wishes to address the agenda item shall be recognized. Then the Planning Commission will discuss the matter further and take appropriate action. We ask that anyone addressing the Planning Commission move to the podium microphone to identify themselves for the record. Please limit your comments to less than 5 minutes and focus on new testimony not already presented. As a courtesy to everyone here tonight, we ask that you please either turn off or silence your electronic devices. This meeting is being televised on CityLink and will be rebroadcast Saturday at 10 a.m., Friday at 7 p.m., and Wednesday at 1 a.m. Thank you for your cooperation. Of the City Planning Commission to order for Wednesday, April 4th, 2018. First thing I want to remind everybody, if you haven't already done so, please silence your cellular or other electronic devices. Also, if we're looking forward to hearing the public on any item that they would like to speak upon, but please limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes. And please focus on new testimony not already presented wherever possible. I'd appreciate that very much. With that, let's begin with the consent agenda.
Item 1, approval of March 7, 2018 minutes of regular meeting. Item 2, March plats. Item 3, 8170 2018, rezoned from the RD1 twin home duplex residential suburban and RA1 apartment residential low density districts to the RS single family residential suburban district for allowed forms located east of North Cliff Avenue, north of East 29th Street North, and south of East 34th Street North. Item 4, 8173, 2018, rezoned from the AG Agriculture District to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban and CN Conservation Districts for allowed forms located north of West 12th Street and west of South Ellis Road. Item 5, 8186, 2018, rezoned from the S2 Institutional Campus Planned Unit Development to the RA3 Apartment Residential High Density District for allowed forms located at east of South Clift Avenue and south of East 77th Street. Item 6, 8201, 2018, rezoned from the S2 Institutional Campus Planned Unit Development and C4 Commercial Regional Districts to the S1 General Institutional, S2 Institutional Campus Plan Unit Development, C4 Commercial Regional, CN Conservation, and Recreation Districts for allowed forms located south of West 69th Street and west of South Tallgrass Avenue. Item 7. 8206, 2018, rezoned from the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to the S1 General Institutional District for allowed forms located at 309 South Joliet Avenue. Item 8, 8213, 2018, rezoned from the I2 Heavy Industrial District to the Downtown DT Planned Unit Development and Recreation Districts for allowed forms located at 119.5 East 6th Street. Item 9, 8187, 2018, preliminary subdivision plan for the Meadow Vista addition located east of North La Mesa Drive and south of West 3rd Street. Item 10, 8211, 2018, preliminary subdivision plan for Sanford Research Park addition located south of West 69th Street and west of South Tallgrass Avenue.
Thank you, Denise. Those items number 1 through 10 comprise the consent agenda. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to one of those items 1 through 10? If you would, we would remove that from the consent agenda and put it onto the regular agenda. Anyone in the audience care to speak to one of the items 1 through 10? Not seeing any. I'd entertain a motion from the commission.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda items number 1 through 10 as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries. If your item was numbers 1 through 10, you are free to leave at this time. If you're welcome to stay as well. Next item is the regular agenda approval. Entertain a motion from the commission.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the regular agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Item 11, 8212, 2018, rezoned from the AG Agriculture District to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban, RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban, and CN Conservation Districts for allowed forms located south of West 69th Street and west of South Sundowner Avenue.
Good evening, Jason Bieber representing Planning and Building Services. This is an application by Clint Ackerman. The applicant is proposing to rezone roughly 67 acres for our single family RD1 twin home adjacent to 69th Street, and then some CN conservation districts where there's some existing wetlands. This application is located south of West 69th Street and west of South Sundowner Avenue. The proposed development will have an access onto West 69th Street. The proposed zoning does meet the 2035 Shape Sioux Falls Comprehensive Plan. The proposed RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District adjacent to West 69th Street should provide a good transition from this future arterial street to the proposed RS single family uses to the south of the proposed twin homes. After meeting with the applicant and city staff this afternoon, the applicant has adequately addressed some concerns with the drainage and the future construction of West 69th Street. Therefore, staff can change the recommendation from deferral to approval of this rezoning. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the commission? Thank you, Jason. Is the applicant here? Come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Laith Herbold on behalf of the petitioner, Clint Ackerman.
Anything else you have to add to Jason's
No,
synopsis?
I have no further comments beyond what Jason said, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to item number 11? If so, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Walter Ports. I own the property at 6001 South Sundowner, just to the kind of north and slightly east of where we're talking. The project seems like a great idea. I just wanted to address a couple of concerns about road issues. I've talked with him a little bit ahead of getting up here, but the three, having lived there been there for 20 some years, you kind of get a feel for how the road operates. I understand that there's some plans to pave 69th and Sundowner to 69th. I also understand that Sundowner going forward eventually will be paved to 85th, or at least that's what I've gotten from the office downstairs. The kind of three small areas of concern I have are, as you're heading southbound on Sundowner, there's quite a bit of raise to the road there. And then it drops back down by the time you get to 69th, and I think that that's something I'm sure the roads crews would address, but something that I wanted to make sure was, with the amount of traffic it gets now, it's already an issue. I think it's something that we just need to keep in mind, that we kind of want to level that field a little bit. And then to the west of this development, 69th, as you get closer to the TLS road, when there's a lot of moisture in the ground, has a tendency to get pretty muddy and is an issue. So increased traffic flow over there, I think, is something that just needs to be looked at and see if there's any sort of remediation. There's kind of ponding on either side of the road there. And, there's a lot of traffic that, from the housing development to the north that kind of goes out to TLS. It's kind of a quick way to get out of the neighborhood. And then lastly, just wanted to put on the record that Sundowner, as you go further south, maybe where 79th would be, somewhere in there, does have a tendency to flood. We're down to one lane at times. So just road maintenance in general there, with a step up in traffic, would be something that we need to just kind of take a look at. But that's really all I have. So hopefully that makes sense.
Any questions from the commission?
Okay.
I think to your comment, we did receive some comments from several public agencies on this, and they seem to have a comfort level that those things can be addressed.
Sure.
As things go forward.
And if anybody ever has questions about it, I'm out there a lot. So, I'd be happy to meet with anybody and talk to anybody who has questions. So.
Okay, good to
All right.
know.
Thank you
very much. Are there other audience members? Oh, yes, Jeff.
And call them up. But the gentleman raised some good concerns, and I'll just clarify them real quickly. Jeffrey Schmidt from the planning office. For all the citizens at home and for the people in the audience today and online, anytime that we bring property in the city of Sioux Falls, then it becomes the city of Sioux Falls' responsibility to continue to meet those challenges and work on these improvements. So as he highlighted, these things all need to be addressed, but the city doesn't do them until they're really brought into the city of Sioux Falls. So now that 69th Street is in the city and there's houses, we'll build 69th Street. Sundowner is now going to become in the city of Sioux Falls, and we'll do Sundowner to the west of 69th Street. The north side is in, the south side isn't, so that's always been a challenge, but that's how we try to address it. Absolutely with the drainage, but you got to put the culverts in before the road comes in versus putting the road in and then having it. So we got to get the culverts in, the road, the water, the sewer, the utilities, and so those are all things that Jason will continue to highlight that we're addressing as the project moves along. So I appreciate the gentleman pointing them out tonight.
Okay, thank you. Are there other audience members that would like to speak to item number 11? Seeing none, entertain a motion from the commission.
Make a motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve for discussion.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point of appreciate Jeff coming up and clarifying that. Hopefully that helps to clear up some of the questions that you have, and appreciate you coming down. I'm in support of this.
Okay, other comments from commissioners?
No, I agree with Commissioner Anderson. So,
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 12, 8109, 2018, conditional use permit for an on-sale alcohol beverage establishment located within 500 feet of a sensitive land use located at 2417 East 10th Street.
The applicant here is Kirby Mullenberger with Quam Holdings Incorporated. The applicant is proposing to remodel a 1,200 square foot tenant space that was an old pizza place for a casino video lottery establishment within that existing strip center. It is located at 2417 East 10th Street, which is just west of Interstate 229. There is an existing multi-tenant building that has various retail uses in it. I think Aaron's Rentals in it, along with a couple of restaurants. The proposed on-sale alcoholic beverage establishment meets the criteria of the comprehensive plan. This is an existing arterial corridor with commercial uses. There's an existing casino adjacent to the newly proposed casino in the strip center for some time. Lighting of the structure and soundproofing of the property are items that can be considered during this public hearing. The parking is already adjacent on site. There's already existing parking lot for the multi-tenant building, and then a security management plan is required to be approved by the police department prior to their license being approved by the city council. Because the application has provided clarity to indicate the location, nature, and extent of the work proposed, staff does recommend approval of this conditional use permit, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the commission? Hearing none. Thank you, Jason. Is the applicant here this evening? Step forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Drew Duncan. I'm an attorney here in Sioux Falls, and my address is 8216 Copper Ridge Road. As the planning staff acknowledged, I think most of the facts are what they are. We're talking 10 machines, wine and beer. It's not a significant, there won't be a significant increase in traffic flow at this location. I think parking, if you've looked at the location, parking seems reasonable there. Front and rear exits, all security controlled, and the space to the direct east is an insurance agency, and direct west is a casino also owned by Mr. Meilenberg. I'll stand by for any questions if you have any.
Any questions from the commission? Hearing none, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to item number 12? Seeing none, entertain a motion from the commission.
Mr. Chair, move for approval of item number 12.
second?
It's been moved and approved for item number 12. Moved and seconded for approval of item number 12, excuse me. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 13.
Item 13, 8149, 2018, conditional use permit for a full-service restaurant within 250 feet from a sensitive land use located at 309 South Garfield Avenue, Suite 10.
This application is for the Fasika Ethiopian restaurant. The applicant is proposing to change the existing use of a tenant space from a chiropractic clinic to a full-service restaurant. It's located at 301 South Garfield Avenue, just north of West 12th Street and just east of the McDonald's and Kiwanis Avenue on 12th Street. The proposed full-service restaurant does meet the criteria of the comprehensive plan. This section of West 12th Street contains several restaurants. As we had mentioned before, a security management plan is required to be approved by the police department prior to this alcohol license being approved by the city council. Because the applicant, has provided clarity to indicate the location, nature, and extent of the work proposed, staff does recommend approval of this conditional use permit.
Any questions from the commission?
Just, Mr. Chair, real quick, Jason, the address is 301 South Garfield, correct?
Yeah, and then Suite 10. I should
Clarify
mention
that for
a
the
suite.
record.
Yep.
I believe 309 was read into the record earlier, so just
Oh, okay.
making sure.
Yeah, 301 South Garfield and then Suite 10.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the commission? Seeing none, thank you, Jason. Is the applicant here this evening? Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Ujulo Bala, which is I'm the one who's just to ask the condition for the permit to use the full restaurant is a cultural restaurant, which is, we don't have it here, so we need opportunity to have such kind of in our city. So I'm just asking that condition so I can have full service for everybody. So that's the reason I asked that permit to use according to the law here.
Okay, very good, thank you. Is there any questions from the commission? Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this particular item? Yes, come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Larissa Bell. Address is 228 South Garfield Avenue, number 2. I live across the street from this establishment, and there is already issues with across the street. There's a hookah lounge that is out. They're open till 3, 4 in the morning. You get up in the morning and you have empty beer bottles all over. And my concern is opening a restaurant that allows alcohol use. Are they going to go over and continue to make a ruckus? I mean, I get up at 2, 3 in the morning and they're fighting. So I'm having to call and make complaints, and the police come and take care of it. But my fear is them contributing to what is already going on there. So I'm hoping in hopes that you guys deny the alcohol license to maybe curb some of what is already going on, if that makes sense.
Okay, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Jeff, do you want to address this, what the city does in review of those conditions that she mentioned?
As she mentioned, any trash issues that they may have, any noise violations, those are all code violations that we would have that should be taken care of by the property owner or the tenants. So from that standpoint, if they're not addressed, then they get raised even further into court standings and the laws that would have to be addressed. The issue that she's really may be raising is that she may have to be the complainant. And is that really fair or not? But that's how the system works, is we don't necessarily go out there proactively throughout the city of Sioux Falls and do the enforcement on every property. We do health inspections proactively, but some of these things get filed by a complainant, and so bringing that to your awareness also. So if you allow the restaurant would be allowed here, they're asking really to do this on sale at this location. And if there are issues out here, we would have to be brought aware of them, and then police would respond. If there was trash, we would respond as a code enforcement case.
Now, she also mentioned some very late hours. Are there hours that are defined within the code for this particular use?
No, there are not. The hours of operation are set basically by law that they can continue to operate. With a conditional use in the city of Sioux Falls, the conditions are placed by a public hearing and at this time to mitigate any impacts that may be had. So you can look at hours of operation and try to address those things. The challenge really gets down to, and we've gone on record about this before, if they operate past the stated hours of operation, who enforces those hours of operation? We may have to, and again, really getting into the weeds here, say the restaurant with liquor would have to be closed at a certain time. If they didn't, we'd have to receive that complaint and then follow it up the next day to find out when they actually closed. And then if there's a repeated issue, then you would have them come back to a public hearing in front of this body to see how they address that issue. And then in the long term, and we haven't done this in a while with this makeup of the Planning Commission, you could revoke their conditional use.
Okay, thank you.
You can address the hours of operation with a condition.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Is there anyone else in the, oh, yes, did you have a question for Jeff? Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to item number 13? Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Vera. I'm a resident of the city of Sioux Falls for 40 years. What I like to say, Mr. Julu and his wife worked very hard to create this restaurant. And according to the complaint right now and concern, the paper I have in front of me, the restaurant is going to be open from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. So that's mean 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock is not exist right now. In the future, if Mr. Obala decided to serve wine or something else, this was going to be another issue, which is presented and mentioned in the beginning. That's coming back to the security from the police department, and everybody else is going through process to see that's proper to be approved or not. But right now, the issue is just the restaurant is going to be open for a food and family gathering, and it's going to be from 11 o'clock in the morning until 10 p.m., which is not what I hear 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and noise and issue in there. So,
okay. Thank you. Any
welcome.
questions for Mr. O'Bare? No?
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the audience that would like to speak to this item? Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Nasir Imam. I am almost 15 years resident of Sioux Falls, and I am originally from Ethiopia, and I know Mr. Ojulu and Almas are very hardworking citizens and very good citizens. I know them, and we have a wonderful culture, and our food is very delicious and very good Ethiopian food. Americans like those food. Even any person in the neighborhood, after we start that restaurant, I believe that maybe they will be our good friend, and we are serving them very good, and we are respecting the law, we are respecting our neighborhood, and maybe you'll see, you'll be very proud of us. We are very hardworking people and respecting the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the audience that would like to speak to item number 13? Seeing none, entertain commission action.
Chair, move for approval of item number 13 for discussion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for discussion. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, this particular use in this neighborhood, I think, would serve to improve the environment that was described by the neighbor. A full-service restaurant serving adult beverages is going to attract a different clientele than the lounge. And I'm curious as to how, despite going by this property every day for years, working downtown, I'm having trouble picturing what is the business in the front that is the bar or the lounge that's causing this issue. But 3 and 4 a.m. with beer bottles outside an on-sale lounge shouldn't happen. They've got to be getting it somewhere else, hanging out on the property. Then it's almost a trespassing or a criminal issue if a bar is supposed to be closed at 2 and they're causing issues to 3 and 4 in the morning. Unacceptable, and there's law enforcement to deal with that. My opinion.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, when we look at this particular conditional use permit, it's very similar, or it's consistent with other conditional use permits, especially along that, in that part of town and all over. We've recommended and approved several similar conditional use permits. And I don't believe that the bad behavior of a neighbor should be detrimental to this particular applicant. So I would support approval of this particular permit.
Okay, thank you. Other commission commentary?
Mr. Chair, I would echo both of those, and I'd just say to the tenant of this building is just be an extra eyes for the neighborhood, and if you see something, make sure you call the cops or the appropriate authorities.
Okay. Other commission discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 14, 8202-2018 conditional use permit for on-sale alcohol beverage establishment located within 500 feet of a sensitive land use located at 5801 East 41st Street.
The applicant here is Joel Engel. The applicant is proposing to construct a new a restaurant, bar, and associated parking lot on this property that's at the southwest corner of East 41st Street and Veterans Parkway. It is within 300 feet of Harmondon Park, as you can see to the south. The proposed on-sale alcoholic beverage establishment meets the criteria of the comprehensive plan. The proposed restaurant bar is adjacent to existing commercial uses. We will have a come and go out there. There's an indoor rec facility to the south, along with some future retail to the east and north. Further, Harmondon Park currently allows alcohol within the park during certain events, softball and things like that. And finally, an improved security management plan is required before this alcohol license can be approved by the City Council. Because the application has provided clarity to indicate the nature, location, and extent of the work proposed, staff does recommend approval of this conditional use permit. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the commission? Seeing none, thank you, Jason. Is the applicant here? Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Joel Engel, 5735 East 41st Street. I don't have anything to add to staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have some.
Any questions from commissioners? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to item number 14? Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Lemoyne Bransma. Address is 3307 South Lisa Drive, which is directly north across the street from this proposed establishment. I really don't see another need for another restaurant and bar down there. We have a bar and restaurant within a mile west, which is the attic down there, which is more commercialized than what this is. This new sports games building that was built down there is supposed to also have a daycare. And if that be the case, I see no need for a bar to be that close to a daycare. And furthermore, Harmondon Park is right there also. So what are we encouraging? The young people to come over and try to drink? And, you know, and another thing, if the bar is open till 2 a.m. in the morning, this is residential. There's two ways to get away. If you go north from this proposed location, which is on Centerfield Drive, it ends right at 41st Street, and right across the street is going to be new houses. Those headlights are going to be shining right in their bedroom windows, because Centerfield Drive ends at 41st Street. It doesn't continue on north. Shannon told us at the time, if anybody goes into that area, they would have to go west and then use the Harmondon Park entrance in order to get out of there. So I don't know who approved the establishment of Centerfield Drive, which ends right at 41st Street, and headlights would then be in the bedroom windows of brand new houses being built. In fact, they just dug a new basement out there today. I think it's Ronning that's building those houses. I really oppose a bar in this location. It's more residential than anything. The daycare is right there. There's another bar within a mile down the street. If ball players need to get their drinks or whatever, they can go down the street to the attic and get all kinds of booze down there. And I don't know if this establishment was going to plan on being open till 2 a.m. in the morning. You know, if that be the case, they should have some sort of a barrier or a berm or something on the north side of that establishment, separating that from us residential area. So I really oppose this bar being established in that area.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would city staff like to, or are there any questions from the commission for Mr. Bresma? No? Okay, thank you. Would city like to address a couple of those issues from a standpoint of our consideration?
Yeah, I can try and address some of the concerns there. One of them, I think, was alcohol, but as I had stated before, Humberdon Park already sells alcohol. They sell beer in the park for softball. I believe you can actually bring in your own beer to softball games. The aspect of this being more of a residential area, I know East 41st Street is classified as a limited access arterial street. Veterans Parkway is a highway. I think the comprehensive plan, we have this identified as a neighborhood employment center. As you can see, that's why there's commercial on this intersection. I believe there's commercial to the east on that intersection. The northwest and northeast corner, I believe those are still outside of city limits, and that's why they're not zoned or why they're still zoned residential. So I would say this is more of a commercial intersection, our future commercial intersection, than probably a future residential intersection.
And it is already zoned C2, correct?
Correct. It's already been zone commercial. That whole area has been zone commercial for some time.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak to item number 14? Okay, seeing none, I'd entertain commission action.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve for discussion item number 14.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve for discussion. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to just make a few quick comments similar to mine on item number 13. I feel a restaurant and a bar type format is more than just a bar, and to isolate it to just the alcohol serving side of it, I think is a little unfair. I think that all the development that's going on in the east side, the attic is out there. There's another one not too far away from this, and they're just great facilities. And I don't think they're going to bring tear up the parking lot at 2 a.m., all the fog lights on, tearing out of there at last call type clientele. So I'd be in support of this. I'm not agreeing with that.
Okay. Any other commission discussion?
Mr. Chair, I agree with Commissioner Johnson. We are a land use board, and this certainly fits within the land use, and I am in support of it as well.
Okay, any other discussion?
I'll echo that also. I mean, as we grow southeast, this will become a pretty busy intersection.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 15, 8204, 2018 conditional use permit for an off-premise sign over 288 square feet located at the southeast corner of West 57th Street and I-29.
The applicant here is Marty Jacobson with Lamar Outdoor Advertising. The applicant is requesting to construct a 672 square foot off-premise sign on this triangular parcel. The sign will be located in the northwest corner of the lot, adjacent to West 57th Street and I-29. And it will also be located within the approved Billboard Opportunity District. The applicant is proposing the sign to be 40 feet high, 672 square feet, which is 14 by 48. I know we had some questions on how high 40 feet was. I did a little bit of looking, and the newest billboard that was constructed at the Golf Addiction site on 57th and Marion, that is also a 40-foot high sign, so it'll be the similar height to that. Numerous billboards are located along this interstate. The proposed billboard is located within the approved Billboard Opportunity District that was approved by City Council, I believe, in 2015. Therefore, staff feels the proposed location should not impact property values, traffic, and city utility services and land use density of this area. It's a mostly office and retail type area. Because the application has provided clarity to indicate the location, nature, and extent of the work proposed, staff does recommend approval of this conditional use permit. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from commissioners? Thank you, Jason. Is the applicant here this evening? Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Marty Jacobson, 2005 West or Northwest Port Avenue. And I don't really have anything to add. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Yes.
At this point, which way is the sign going to be designed to advertise to? Is it going to be the interstate or to 57th Street?
At this time, as my awareness is the interstate.
Okay.
Similar to what's out there in comparison to what's out there as far as the size.
Sure. My concern as I drive that area to work every day is that a 40-foot sign located on this particular property is going to, facing 29 and then, you know, the north and the south, at 40 feet as 57th Street comes up to cross Interstate 29, it's basically going to be almost at eye level to passing traffic on that bridge. Potentially highly distracting. So I know that the police and traffic have looked at this, but I don't see how that isn't going to be an impact. And I also am kind of concerned that if the idea was to be able to broadcast to southbound traffic on 29, they're going to be already past it before they see that.
Yeah.
Or before they see anything because of the bridge. So I was just curious what the, you know, if it's dual-sided, if it's digital.
It's going to be dual-sided, and it's similar to the one at the mall on the interstate on I-29. And we're asking for a conditional use. We've been working with Lloyd and TC Properties to find a location that we can work with them on, and this is the location that we're comfortable with, and so that's we're going to build a two-sided sign.
Okay.
672 feet in square footage, and that would be similar to the mall that was just passed a mile just to the north of there last month, 2 months ago.
And I think I know the sign you're talking about, and I'm not convinced that it's in the same kind of scenario with a major arterial bridge crossing over like this one does. But I have no further questions at this time.
Okay. Any other questions from commission?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item? Seeing none, entertain commission action.
Mr. Chair, could I have staff come up, please? Jason, from what I understand, the height requirement is already allowed, and this conditional use is only for the total square footage, correct?
The size, they're allowed to do 40 feet high and 288 square feet by right. If they want to go bigger than 288 square feet, then they would have to come for their conditional uses, what they're doing to go up to 672 a maximum, which the applicant indicated is similar to the one that was approved at the mall. I think it was the fall of 2017. It was probably about 6 months ago. So
I just wanted to clarify that. Thanks.
Okay. Still entertain motion from the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item number 15. Any discussion?
No, I feel the height of the sign does fall within what is required. The sign is a larger sign. However, I just don't think, I drove by this location and didn't see any issues from my perspective. So I'm in favor of it.
Any other discussion?
I'll stick with the comments I made earlier. I'm not comfortable with that sign facing north-south with the raising deck of the road to cross Interstate 29 on 57th, but I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All those opposed, no.
No.
So that's 4 in favor, 1 against. Motion passes. Thank you.
Item 16, 8209, 2018, conditional use permit for on-sale alcohol beverage establishment located within 500 feet of a sensitive land use located at 4719 East Arrowhead Parkway.
All right, this will be our final conditional use tonight. Similar request as the other 3 or 4 that we've had. The applicant is Kalen DeHall, and he's looking at opening a new sports bar in an existing multi-tenant building that's located kind of the northeast of the Shopco building at Arrowhead Parkway and Sycamore Street. The proposed on-sale alcoholic beverage establishment meets the criteria of the comprehensive plan. The proposed sports bar is located to and adjacent to a major commercial intersection, which is Arrowhead Parkway and Sycamore Avenue. Further, the area to the east is zoned for future commercial uses, as you can see on the map here. So directly to the east of this tenant space will be future commercial. And finally, a security management plan will need to be approved prior to the issuance of this alcohol license by the City Council. Because the application has provided clarity to indicate the location, nature, and extent of the work proposed, staff recommends approval of this conditional use permit. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the commission? Thank you, Jason. Is the applicant here this evening? Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Kalyan Dahal, and I live at 4528 East Brennan Drive, apartment 38, Sioux Falls. And I'm planning opening a sports bar, soccer sports bar, and I think that's one of the concept we are bringing here in Sioux Falls. We don't have one, and World Cup is coming up, so unfortunately, US didn't qualify. That's all.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'd entertain commission action.
Motion for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for approval of item number 16. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, just looking forward to having it and excited to see that. I'm a big soccer fan, so good luck.
I'll echo that also. I'm a big soccer fan, and it's really neat in town, and good luck.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 17, 8196, 2018, initial development plan amendment for a Vera Mckinnon South Campus located at the southeast corner of West 69th Street and South Louise Avenue.
Good evening. This is the southeast corner. It's zoned S2. We did the initial development plan previously back in June of 2017 at Planning Commission for this property. They are coming into an amendment for this, and again, it's 85.47 acres. It's phase 1 on the north side along 69th Street and just east of Louise Avenue. They're holding the south side as phase 2 at this point, or phase 3, but they're working on phase 1. The proposal at this point, the amendment, is for the eastern portion of this, shown in green with buildings 3 and 4. The S2 PUD forms allow for institutional campuses planned development to do business and community facilities of unlimited size and multifamily residential commercial uses. They can do, in this entire S2 area, they can do offices of BCF 1, BCF 2, and 3. They can do commercial uses of RE1, RE2, and RE3. We can do residential forms of AD 1 through 4 and multifamily M1 and M2. Currently, what we've already proposed is on the west side, we have BCF 3 forms. The applicant is going to continue to meet the setbacks that are indicated as minimum standards for their setbacks from all the buildings and from their parking lots. The applicant is still required to meet the minimum parking requirements in all their buildings. The applicant is continuing to meet all or exceed all their landscaping standards required by their ordinances, and they're looking at continuing to meet or exceed the buffer yard requirements that are required. At this point, the big change is on the east side. They did not show originally buildings on the east side. Now they're proposing to build a building 3 as a BCF 3 and building 4 as a BCF 2, and then they would be required to have a buffer yard along the residential street to the east. And the initial development plan amendment is consistent with all the S2 plan unit development standards, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, any questions from the commission? Thank you, Jeff. Is the applicant here this evening? Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Richard Molseed with the Vera Health, 800 South Outlook Drive. The Vera is very excited about this project. I don't think I have to tell anybody about the incidence of chemical dependency. It's running rampant, alcohol and drug issues, and this is addressing that exactly. This is going to be an inpatient residential unit that is combined with our current behavioral health hospital. It needs to be in a separate type of environment, though, because behavioral health is unfortunately full most of the time, and it's a different type of clientele that we're doing. We've had 2 community meetings on this, the most recent one in March, and that community meeting was just focused on this particular project. In our community meetings, we've heard 3 different concerns from the neighbors. One was access from Hemmingstone. We've redesigned there. We're not proposing any access from Hemmingstone for our development here. The second one was more landscaping on the berms. On the east side of this property, there's a 6-foot berm that's there. We have some existing berms that we've already put in place due to the development that we've already have on. We've been asked to do some more landscaping. We already meet minimums, and we've agreed to do that. That'll take place this summer. And the third thing that we heard and request that we had was to move the buildings further to the west. And the current layout that we're proposing here does that. The building that's closest to the property line to the east is actually 164 feet set back. And in between there and the street is a 6-foot berm with extensive landscaping on it. So everything that we've heard from the neighbors and concerns about the neighbors, we've addressed in this. This will be a very quiet neighbor. This is not a court-appointed type of facility. This is a facility where people will come as appointed. Length of stay will be sometime between 20 and 28 days, we expect. It'll be a medically directed program that they have. And so these are people that have loved ones, or they've either determined on their own, or their loved ones have determined that they need this kind of help. Again, it's not court-appointed. It is not something where ambulances or police will be driving up. People will be coming and being admitted and then discharged during regular business hours. So it is something that we think is very consistent with the mission of Vera. It's consistent with our dedication and investment in behavioral health, and it is something desperately needed by this region, not only the city of Sioux Falls, but this region. So Vera is very proud to offer this new program to the people of the Sioux Empire. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the commission?
Do you think the majority census of these patients will be driving or have their vehicles there by chance?
No, I don't think so. Once you're here, any time you would leave the campus would be for like a medical or maybe a legal deal, and you'll be escorted by our staff. So it's not a come and go. It's not an outpatient. It's an inpatient. Most people, I would imagine, in the experiences that we've had, that family members or loved ones drop them off. And so we don't anticipate, it's not that there wouldn't be, but we don't anticipate that there would be people there often that would have their own cars. Certainly they wouldn't have access to them while they're there. Their keys and all would not be there. We don't want that.
Thank you.
Other commissioner questions? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Mulsey.
Mr. Chair.
Is there anyone from the audience who would like to address item number 17? Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Larry Clement, 6100 Hemmingstone Trail, right across the street from where they proposed to move the drug addicts. And folks, as I see on the schedule, this is about a development at 69th and Louise. That's not what it's about. It's about a development of 69th and Hemmingstone Trail. And at least this picture shows the homes there. When they did the presentation earlier, all the lots were vacant by the thing. I have no problem with Vera. I've had some procedures done at Vera. In fact, if it wasn't for this meeting, I'd just be finishing my workout at a Vera Mckinnon Fitness Center. And I respect these folks doing the right thing. I feel a little bit like David versus Goliath. I understand the footprint and the political clout and the financial wherewithal that an Avera has. But Goliath didn't win every battle, and especially when he was wrong. And there's plenty of room on the west-southwest part of this great big campus to put the drug addicts. Don't need to move them into a residential neighborhood. And that's exactly what they're doing. There's no way I would have ever bought a house or a home. It's a twin home, but believe me, the people that live in those twin homes have got the capability to buy any house in town if they wanted to. It's not, and you don't move 32 drug addicts into a residential neighborhood. And you don't, and they're supposed to be there 30 to 60 days, so that means that there'll be 350 to 400 different drug addicts in that neighborhood every year. It's not right. And again, I have that great respect. I have a very close friend here in town who's a recovered drug addict. Very reputable guy. I do business with him. He does business with me. He didn't live in a nice residential area. He got straightened out in an institution called a prison. And I asked him, why does this have to be in this residential area? Well, they want these inpatients or whatever they're called, they want them to be in a nice residential atmosphere. My question is, what did they do to deserve to live in a nice residential atmosphere? I just don't get it. And, there's no question. When I heard they were going to build a big hospital on the corner, I thought that was great. It's good for the city. It'd be better if they paid taxes, but we understand they don't. But the fact that I don't think there's any way, if it wasn't for this hospital there, which is a great $174 million project, there's no way that I don't think you people would approve a standalone drug treatment, drug addict center, whatever you want to call it, on that corner if it wasn't for the hospital there. There's plenty of other places in this town where this drug treatment center could be built. It's just that simple. And, it's just wrong to come into a neighborhood and say we're going to move 32 drug addicts in. And with all due respect, don't I've heard how these are nice people. These aren't bad guys. Well, and I've heard that drug addiction is a sickness. Well, that is a sickness that somebody decide. That's a choice they made. Okay, they should be treated. They should be helped if that's what they need, but it shouldn't be in a residential neighborhood. There's a lot of houses around there that are, well, it's not big money, but just my half of the twin homes assessed at $348,000. And again, there's some $1 million homes. And I think my friends with Vera would tell you when they had this public meeting, not one person stood up and supported this project. There were a lot of people against it. And that's it right there. So, and I've been in business, a lot of different businesses in several different states for a lot of years. And the thing that I've had success with, when I do a deal or I put a program together, and I've been in a lot of economic development things, and I've donated a lot of money to charities, hospitals, organizations. The rule I've always followed is when you're going to do something, it needs to be good for all parties. This doesn't pass that test.
Okay, sir.
And one final thing, my 5 minutes might be up. One final thing I offered to do. I said, how many acres does this take? 4.5 was the answer. I said, I'll buy you 5 acres and I'll give it to you. I'll trade you for the 4.5 acres, and that offer still stands. So it's just not right. I understand, like I say, the clout and the financial, but again, I would ask you people one question. Do any of you have 32 drug addicts living in your neighborhood or across the street? And I would ask you also, would you like to have them?
Thank you, sir. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address this item?
Good. There he goes.
Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Matt Stanley, 3604 Marston Manor Circle, Sioux Falls. I just wanted an opportunity to address you, Mr. Chairman, and I guess the council here. Larry and I actually, he's heard me speak before. I think it's fair to say we will probably never reach totally common ground, but I think we have at least reached a level of respect for each other. But I wanted to make sure that I have an opportunity to explain a little more about what the facility is and what it will entail. I'm a psychiatrist. I'm also board certified by the American Board of Addiction Medicine. I work for Vera. This is a project that I am deeply supportive of. Kind of ironically, I feel like I'm the counterpoint in this evening's presentation. I think every other presentation discussed probably had alcohol involved in it. We are an alcohol treatment facility. Statistically, it's 10% of the population. I've worked in critical care, behavioral health for most of my 20 years. We discharge 5,000 patients a year from behavioral health, and about 60 to 80% of those have a co-occurring dependency issue or substance abuse issue. I'm not necessarily here to sell you on the need. You probably are as aware of that as I am. I do want to describe, though, a little bit about what this facility would entail. As Mr. Molseed said, these are voluntary patients. It's typically a 28-day period of treatment, but this is a highly structured environment. This is not an environment where people walk away and come back, take day passes and leave. You sleep there, you get up on a very specified time, you have duties and responsibilities, classes and therapy you have to attend throughout the day. If people want to leave, as Dick also said, this is a voluntary program. You don't have to sneak away. You don't have to leave in the middle of the night. You don't have to have a friend come pick you up on the side road. We will gladly facilitate your leaving. I say that because I think one of the concerns is people will be hanging around this area, sitting on the street curb. I've heard a lot of things that, I mean, honestly, having dealt with these people, I find somewhat offensive. But these are our neighbors, these are our teachers, our law enforcement, lawyers, doctors. This is every man in this community, 1 out of 10. I do understand the concern in the neighborhood, but this is not affiliated with criminals. This is not affiliated with people that have characterological issues. I do see this as a medical disorder that requires specific form of treatment. If you look at the Surgeon General's report of 2016, which was historic, he also identified this as a medical disorder requiring treatment. So I would be happy to answer questions. I just want to make sure that we all have a clear understanding of the type of people that will be receiving treatment here and the highly structured environment that we will be creating. Any questions?
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, first of all, Dr. Stanley, thanks for coming up and clarifying. So just to be clear, the Minnehaha County has a detox center and a sobering center. So if somebody was picked up for disorderly conduct, or they appeared to be drunk or high on some substance, they would likely be brought to the Minnehaha County Jail Detox Center or Sobering Center. Is that your understanding?
Correct. That is not the type of individual that would come to this facility.
Okay.
And if I could paint a scenario for you, this is, so I had to take my father to treatment at one point in my life. Very difficult step. Required a lot of discussion, a lot of, I guess, cajoling and arm twisting. But I drove him to a facility. He was sober. And he was admitted and received treatment and did relatively well. But this isn't, this is planned. These are highly motivated people, recognize they have an illness, and are willing to seek help.
Okay.
We are not a court intervention. We are not a detox center. Every emergency room in the city would tell you they have to deal with detox periodically, but we're not even anticipating taking people from our emergency room. These are people kind of at a different state of readiness in terms of their ability and willingness to recover.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address this item?
Can I ask one more question?
Nope, you've had your 5 minutes. I appreciate that, sir. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to step forward and comment on item number 17? Okay, hearing none. Entertain commission action.
Mr. Chair, move for approval item number 17.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for approval of item number 17. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I strongly approve this item, not only as a land use board, but just to clarify, I appreciate Mr. Mosley and Dr. Stanley clarifying the purpose of their facility. It's not only needed in Minnehaha County, but across the state of South Dakota. There's lack of inpatient beds to treat. These, as Dr. Stanley noted, these are our neighbors. These are our friends. The neighbor said, "Do you live close to 32 addicts?" You know what? I probably do. They're in our neighbors. They're our neighbors next door. They're the people that we live with. They may be ourselves. And addiction crosses all socioeconomic, ethnic barriers. It doesn't matter if I have a criminal background or I don't. Addiction is like a chronic disease. Just like diabetes, it needs to be, and heart disease, stroke, it needs to be treated, and I'm proud that this facility is coming to our community.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would echo Commissioner Shantos's comments and a little bit more. I find it borderline insulting at the inference that Vera Mckinnon was going to be actively supporting the habits of 32 or whatever the census number is, drug dealers in these facilities, or drug addicts in these facilities. There's a lot of information available online and at the library. I would encourage those that strongly feel this way to do some reading and educate yourselves. I'm in favor of this 100%.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll just echo what they're saying. The one thing we have to stay focused on is we're land use and not a people. So we're not looking at the people that will use these facilities. It does make sense. It's already been, zoned for medical, and so to me, it makes perfect sense.
Other discussion?
Well, one thing I do want to say too is, thank you, Larry, for coming out. And basically, we've increased the buffer and everything, and thank you for Vera working with them. But we need citizens like you to make sure that, we're taking care of buffers and stuff like that.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 18, 8199, 2018, preliminary subdivision plan for Galloway Village addition located south of West 69th Street and west of South Sundowner Avenue.
This is an application by Dave Gibbon for Galloway Village Edition. This was the preliminary subdivision plan that will go along with item number 11, I believe, the rezoning that we heard first item on the regular agenda. The purpose of this is they're looking at subdividing this for roughly 162 lots for single family and twin home duplex residential uses. At the time of the staff report for this preliminary subdivision plan, we were still dealing with two tasks in our SIRE plan review. They were dealing with the drainage and the construction of West 69th Street. As I had indicated earlier with the rezoning, we have met with the applicant, the engineers, city engineering, and the applicant's engineers, and are satisfied with the steps that they are going to be taking to address the issues of 69th Street, as well as any drainage issues that will be caused as part of this subdivision. Therefore, staff can change the recommendation now from deferral to approval of this preliminary subdivision plan.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Any questions from the commission? Okay, thanks. Is the petitioner here this evening? Come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Laith Haribolt, 4800 East 57th Street, and I don't really have anything to add to what's been said other than as he mentioned, we are addressing the drainage issues, bringing the water up from 69th Street onto this property, detaining more water than what the city has initially requested. And actually, when the development is complete, there will be less runoff than there is currently in its ag use.
Okay, any questions from the commission? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address item number 18? Seeing none, I'd entertain commission action.
Motion to approve item number 18.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item number 18. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 19.
Item 19, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 160, zoning, Subchapter, parking regulations.
We are proposing to amend the vehicle sales and the motor vehicle sales parking regulations. You saw this last month, and it went to City Council, and it's been remanded back to you for a small change. But just to clarify for anybody that hasn't seen this, this is addressing auto sales lots, not retail forms. And if you're more than 250 vehicles, then there's going to be different standards than if you're less than 250 vehicles. And again, specifically, if you're close to single family. If you're close to single family as a motor vehicle sales, display, and rental, you're going to have to do more landscaping and more buffering. We're always protecting the single family. If you're away from single family by 250 feet, then at that point, then they regulate themselves and they don't have to do this landscaping. The change that this is coming back in front of you is going back to the way in one small section, I'm going to have to say this a couple times, to the way it is today. Right now in the existing code, at bed and breakfasts, they can park and obstruct each other's parking spaces. At a bed and breakfast, cars can park back to back. And I removed that section from the code and I brought it forward to you, and I had taken that section out. I'm putting it back in the code so the cars at bed and breakfast will still be able to obstruct each other. That's the change that you're seeing Otherwise, everything's still saying as previously amended. So now that I've completely confused you, I ask for your proposed amendment to address motor vehicle sales lots, and specifically those larger lots. Again, as this exhibit shows, when they're abutting single-family, we'll protect the single-family neighborhoods. If they're away from single-family, then they don't have to have the same landscaping standards.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission? Thank you, Jeff. Is there any comments from the audience? Seeing none, entertain commission action.
Motion to approve, item number 19.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item number 19. Any discussion?
Great ordinance amendments, makes sense.
Good to know. Any other discussion? Nope. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you.